Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week, Braxton Hill, with us. Coach Houck, and then center A.J. Forbes. As always, raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. I'll pass the mic around. And, Coach, we'll just start with your final thoughts, wrapping up big win for the Grizzlies, and then your first look at South Dakota, a good South Dakota team coming here.
Okay. Certainly we're glad to be 1-0, and I thought we did some decent things on Saturday, but we have a whole bunch of things to correct and fix, and it was far from perfect. So we will go back to work starting this afternoon. The guys had yesterday off, and we'll get going on the corrections we need to make. So I covered those pretty well, I think, post-game, so I don't think we have to go any further into that. This week, obviously, it's a big week for us. We've got a playoff team from last year from the Missouri Valley Conference coming in to challenge us this weekend. It's a huge game for us to try to get to 2-0, and we know that they'll be well coached. Coach Nielsen does a great job. They'll be big and physical, and we'll have our hands full. So that's what the week has.
Questions?
Coach, you spent the last 9 months evaluating your team against your team. So what's it like when you go evaluate the film against somebody else? How much can that help you get better?
Well, to actually play a game after all that preparation was a lot of fun. I think both these guys would probably second that notion. It was good to go out and play against somebody else. Obviously, when it goes as well as it did, you feel pretty good about yourselves, but as I mentioned, we have to have the spirit of improvement this week, and we need to go out and play better this weekend.
And Braxton, you're the defensive player of the week, but the defense itself just flew around. So just talk about the unit, because it seemed like, there were 6 or 7 guys in on every tackle.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun out there, and just how we play defense as a group. We're always chasing to the ball, and Coach talks about our standard on defense, and like you said, we have a lot to prove on, but it was fun to get out there and play against someone else.
And AJ, similar question for you. You've been going against the Grizz defense for so long, and it's a very swarming, unorthodox defense. So what's it like going against a different team? Where did you guys improve as an offensive line this last weekend?
Yeah, going up against the Grizz defense is something that could be a headache for, even for our O-line, who has, been together for some time now and has practiced against it. And I think the biggest thing for this first game was just being able to build that chemistry with one another. That's the big thing about offensive line plays. You have to play as a unit, and I thought being able to play with one another in a game situation was great.
AJ, as a whole, offense just played really well this past weekend, but specifically with the run game, Lucas can obviously run. You had, 4 running backs kind of rotating in. So, from an offensive line perspective, what was it like kind of getting that running game going with so many different weapons in that element, and how you guys made that successful?
Yeah, having explosive ball carriers like that we have in our offense it makes our job easy. Just make our calls, block our guys, do our job, and let the guys with the ball in their hands do their thing.
You've seen it in practice now, kind of working with Lucas at quarterback, but to see it kind of in a game and see, kind of his skill sets kind of match with you guys. What was that experience like, just seeing what he can bring to the table, just for this season?
Yeah, it was great seeing Lucas out there for the first time in a Montana uniform, and I'm just excited to see what we can do together as an offense for the rest of the season.
Bobby, so far just seeing them on tape, what have you seen from South Dakota, and what stands out to you?
Well, they've got good players. I like their defensive line. They didn't get knocked off the ball by Kansas State last weekend. Thought they held up really well. I like their corners. I think they can cover. They're very sound in everything they do. I really I just think their sound is the key word. They're not going to beat themselves. They're going to be hard to move. Last time we played, they did some things that challenged us with some of the movement things up front. And then on the other side of the ball, I really like their receivers, the running backs. I think they're very skilled. They've got 9 starters back on offense, including 4 of the 5 offensive linemen, so they're experienced, and it's going to be a big challenge.
In games against a Missouri Valley team like this, do you feel like they give you any sort of insight, later down the line into strengths and weaknesses against teams of similar profiles?
Say that again?
When you play a Missouri Valley team like this, I don't know if they kind of have an identity in your mind. Do you think it gives you any insight into your team's strengths and weaknesses against the team from the Dakotas?
I think they're all unique to themselves, just like the teams in our league.
And then Braxton, when you guys come off a defensive performance like Saturday where you, I don't believe, allowed them past the 40-yard line, is that something you guys are thinking about in game and just, you kind of have a mindset even in the second half of just thinking about it while you're mid-game like that?
I would say no. Our goal is probably to have a 3-and-out every possession, and then like Coach said, we just have a lot to improve on for next week. We've got a good team coming in here.
And offensively, from the Coyotes, what have you seen from them that you're thinking about as you head into Saturday?
Yeah, I think they're a really good team. Like Coach said, they have a lot of good skill guys. They got a good running back, good O-line, and we're going to have our hands full.
Bobby, after you got a chance to watch the film, what was your evaluation of your team's offensive line play?
I thought they played well.
Why?
They blocked guys and they protected well. We rushed for 211.
Oh.
Scored 47 points. I don't know.
What would you like to see them improve upon this week?
I don't know. You're always trying to play better. I mean, it wasn't like we blocked everybody flawlessly, and we didn't average 15 yards a carry. So, there's always things you can do better.
AJ, your evaluation being on the line with a bunch of new guys, how did you think you guys played, and what are you hoping to see growth-wise this next week for the line?
Yeah, like I said, the big thing with some guys that haven't played together yet was the big thing was being able to come in together in a game situation and continue to build that chemistry with one another, because that's how a good offensive line plays is as a unit. So, I thought we did fine. Obviously, there's, as Coach said, there's plenty of things to improve on. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, so just going into the next week trying to improve on what we can improve on.
Bobby, like Tabor mentioned kind of off the top, Braxton, Defensive Player of the Week in the conference. Just what does he kind of bring to the table for this defense? He got some experience last year, but, where's he kind of taking his game to the next level this year?
Well, I think more experience lends itself to the game slowing down, and you have the ability to understand what not only what your side of the ball is doing, but what the opponent's trying to get to. Braxton's going to keep getting better and better. He's got good athletic ability. He's got good speed. He plays hard. He's a willing tackler. So he's just going to keep getting better and better.
And Braxton, obviously you're no stranger to playing time, but getting that starting role and kind of getting a chance to fill in that this last weekend. What was that like for you? Was there anything different about that experience on Saturday?
Yeah, I would say it was no different than last year. Just any time you step out on the field, just do anything you can to help the team win. So, it was great to be out there and great to be back playing games and in front of the home crowd, and just glad we got the win.
Like Coach mentioned, this offense for South Dakota is an experienced group. I think he said 9 starters are back from this group. So from a defensive perspective, when you guys are preparing, just what do you guys kind of look at when you see all the experience? Is it kind of nice because there's a lot of film on these guys coming back?
Yeah, I would say it's nice. We can look a lot from last year, but it's like any week. Just got to listen to what the coaches have in the game plan, and it's got a lot of prep to do.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about guys from Missoula Big Sky, because you had the cool moment where Janet Carroll blocks the punt, Flink returns it. But you've had a lot of guys come out of that program, and there's only been 2 head coaches of that program in the last 30 years. So, what does Big Sky kind of produce, and why do you like recruiting guys out of there?
Well, I don't know if it's just Big Sky. I think it's all Montana kids. We emphasize recruiting Montana, but that was, as you mentioned, culture. That was a cool play to have Levi get it and Flinker able to pick it up and get it in the end zone. I think there might be 4 or 5 Missoula kids on that punt return team. So it's kind of a cool deal.
And Braxton, both those guys have sort of cut their teeth and done what they needed to do to get on the field, and now they're both making plays. So being a linebacker yourself, what do you see out of those guys?
Yeah, they're awesome. They're both just hardworking dudes, and I could be more excited to see them out there. And, yeah.
Is it on? No. Obviously, you guys pay a lot of attention during the game to the games going on, but I was curious if any of you three have a favorite song that plays in Washington Grizzly Stadium.
Huh? Say it again.
Do you have a favorite song that plays in Wa Grizz during the game?
I don't hear it. I don't hear anything.
Is this better?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you a song that plays during the game. So.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I literally hear nothing. Nothing.
Hey, Braxton, could you just talk about how did you find out you were the Big Sky Defensive Player of the Week, and what was your reaction when you heard that?
Coach Ryan, our strength and conditioning coach, told me in the weight room, and I was just happy we got the win, and just kind of focused on South Dakota now. I just wanted to get up and start watching film on them.
And Coach talked about your improvements, but where do you feel, since going back to the end of last season, where do you feel you've improved the most as a player?
I'd say just knowing where my help is on defense. Yeah, and then just, like I said, just trying to play my heart out and try to get the win.
And anything in particular you're still working on or like to refine yourself going forward?
Yeah, I'd say I'm still working on a lot. I'll probably see here in a little bit a few things I have to work on. But
First
yeah.
play.
Yeah.
First play of the game is probably your worst play.
Just kind of one last one for AJ. Just AJ, when you look at South Dakota's defense, it's kind of, they play obviously some of the best teams in the Missouri Valley every year. So they're one of these teams like Big Sky schools that are always prepped. So when you look at their defense, is there anything that kind of stands out? When you think of those teams, like physicality, or what are you kind of looking at coming into this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think South Dakota is a good team. Like Coach said, their D line looks good. They didn't get pushed back against Kansas State on Saturday, and so I'm just looking forward to seeing them on tape and seeing what we're able to do to them on Saturday.
Anyone else? Thanks, everybody.
Good. Let's talk some volleyball. That's what I want to hear about.